All right, guys, we're almost live here. Let me just do a few more things on the back end, and I'll be right with you. Don't go anywhere. All right, guys, what's going on? How's it going? Are you ready? Are you guys ready? Is it time? Is it that time again? Is it almost time? It's almost time. It's there. We're here. What's going on, guys? How's it going? Once again, BP News here channel, alerting you to what's about to hit the fan. A lot of people say, well, Robert, you always are alerting us about these terrible things. Well, it's an escalation. It's an escalation here and an escalation there. And it's pretty soon, everything falls. It's like a catastrophic moment in time when, you know, if you see one, it kind of reminds me of like, I don't know, if like a puzzle or Jenga, like you pull out one thing and another thing and another. It's like, this is a warning. This is a warning. It could fall any, you know, and things are just teetering. It's just going to take one little shake now and everything's going to fall because there's so many things that have been pulled out and are in preparation. It's like they prepared. You know, it's orchestrated when, like Building 7 on 9/11, when you look at Building 7, and I showed my dad's a builder, and he never thought the conspiracy about 9/11 was just irrelevant. But when he looked at when I showed him Building 7, and I said, Dad, what do you think of that? You know, my dad, he's done large construction projects, so he knows about construction. And I'm talking about commercial buildings, you know, airports, you know, big buildings. And when I showed him that video of how Building 7 just collapsed in on its own footprint, just like the other two, but this time there was no fires. I mean, there might have been a little fire on this corner and a little fire over here, but the whole building just fell into its own footprint. He goes, that's weird. He goes, I can't explain that. And it's because you got charges. And if you really are aware of what happened on that day, there were explosions, you know, like a demolition, how they take out the main girders, but they all happen all at the same. They're orchestrated to happen in a certain way so that it all falls. The whole, you know, steel girders don't just melt by fire. And especially jet fuel itself, it is intensely hot, but it's not hot enough to melt steel, right? And so many people could, you know, speculate that, yeah, it might have been really hot in the Twin Towers, but what about Building 7? Building 7 didn't have jet fuel in it, and there weren't that. It just looked like smoke on one corner and smoke, but the whole dang thing just fell into its own footprint. And they were warning that it was about to fall too. So how'd they know it was going to fall? Like I said, when you have all of those events happening all at once and you see what's going on, other people might not see it. Even people like my dad, who is in commercial construction, didn't believe until I showed him look, Dad, look at this video. What do you think? Well, there's a lot of people out there that are believing the media hype. They're believing the propaganda. They're telling everybody it's going to be okay. It's a golden age. The economy has never been hotter. And it's just amazing what's going on. Brothers and sisters, I'm here to tell you that our world reserve currency, dollar, almighty, petro, is falling apart. Okay. Trump just made an announcement today. I don't know if you saw that, where he said that we are about to transition from the old way of doing finance into crypto. Like, basically, he's saying this is the death of the dollar and this is a transition moment. Do you guys understand that the whole world, oh gosh, everything is so close. I'm going to tell you all the little things that have happened in the last 24 hours. And you have to look at the big picture. You have to kind of zoom out a little bit and see, why are all these things happening all at once? Are we that close to, and this isn't just about Venezuela. This is global. This is a global conflict. This is World War III. This is World War III that we're looking at. And how is that going to affect our homeland? You better ask yourself that. How is this going to affect you and me? This isn't just about down south and our boys going down there and kicking some butt. You're going to kick some butt because we're the best country ever been in the whole wide world. We're going to do, that kind of bravado. I'm just going to tell you right now, you're not going to be talking like that when all this hits the fan. You are not going to be talking like that when it starts affecting you. You start looking at what's going on in places like Ukraine, in Europe. America is cruising for a bruising. That's what I would say. America, you're cruising for a big bruising, and it's going to be bad because there is so much pride here. There is so much arrogance. It is such a deep, dark blindness that has shrouded people's hearts and minds. And I think people might be waking up a little bit now because the economy is not, they're being affected by a bad economy. The average person is having some pocketbook pain right now. That's why Trump's numbers are in the toilet. People are saying, Trump's saying this, and Trump saying that. Well, look at the real numbers. Fox News is reporting that it's 36% of the public are approving of his economy. The rest of the country, 70-something%, don't approve. Why is that? And then Fox is telling people, this is like conservative outlets, that it is so bad and that there's no compassion in this administration to even begin to address it or even acknowledge that there's pain being felt. All they're saying is it's a hot economy, and if it's not affecting you, it's because you don't know what you're doing. You're just stupid. You're one of those. You're just peddling a hoax. You're one of those hoaxsters. We don't need you anyway. Even if you're a person that supported us, MAGA, you're just peddling a hoax. We don't need you anymore. Mm-hmm. Just like the whole Epstein thing. Now, the Epstein thing, that's another thing that's about to hit the fan. So all this stuff now is being released. And Trump administration, I heard, is scrambling right now to try to hide, to try to redact, because this is supposed to hit the fan in the next couple of days. They're already releasing more pictures that are just eye-opening, but there's thousands and thousands of pictures that are supposed to be released. Is there something there that, I could see the wag the dog scenario, like, hey, let's just go all pedal to the metal. Let's just go ahead and just start World War III because we don't want to, we don't want any major distractions now. We got war going on here. It's kind of like when Netanyahu was being called up to the courts when they were trying to bring him to justice, supposedly. This was all before October 7th, right? Netanyahu was effectively done as a politician. He was going to be ousted upon his keister. There was millions of people that wanted his head inside of Israel. I'm talking about Israelis. But when the war began, that all stopped. And then when the war started to cool down a few years in, or a year or so in, I don't know, it was probably a year or so in, then it started to kind of mellow out. Well, then they wanted to bring him up to court and face charges. But as soon as that process began, boom, the whole war started off hot and heavy once again. He had to back out because he had to take care of the war, right? And so this war, this perpetual war, has kept him out of being prosecuted. And there were millions of people in the streets of Israel trying to get him out, even during the war. Didn't like what he was doing, didn't understand how they could have stood down for hours while innocent Israelis were being taken captive and or killed. This would have never happened in a million years. That it almost seemed like it was orchestrated, right? Boom. And then we got Israel in the middle of everything. Israel is in the middle of all this stuff being talked about. And now you've got Israelis being killed in places like Sydney. They're blaming this as this is anti-Semitism. You can't in any way criticize Israel because look at what happens. People start getting killed, and they're calling now for all the Israelis to go back to Israel. They are literally bringing in thousands of Israelis every day in planes that they call it Aliyah, where they make their pilgrimage back to Israel. They're calling people out of the United States that are Israelis because it's too dangerous now to live in the United States. They're saying that. Now, that's been going on for a while now, but I'm just telling you that as the Bible's predicted, Israel would be the center piece of the puzzle of why. It's kind of like the keystone. The keystone is the one that holds everything together. The Bible calls Israel a burdensome stone to the nations, and that it would be in the middle of all the conflicts of the last days. And they are front and center in the midst of everything that's happening right now. And if you don't know that, and you think that's anti-Semitic to say that, well, you don't know what's going on. You're clueless, okay? And if I have whether I have a criticism or whether that's just a fact, and I could just be cheerleading them because they're the most, chosen generation. They're the most powerful people in the world. They're the smartest people in the world. They're involved in all of these different industries and powerful places of influence over the globe. I could be that kind of cheerleader, or I could be someone that doesn't like that fact. It doesn't matter. That's who they are. And there's a reason for it. It's biblical prophecy coming to pass. Just because you're a powerful called influence doesn't mean that you're right with God. It doesn't mean you're chosen. Now, yeah, everybody in some way is predestined or chosen according to their God's foreordination. He knows what you're going to choose. Just like he knew Pharaoh would harden his heart. And it says that God raised Pharaoh up for the purpose of what? Revealing God's glory in what? In judgment. It wasn't revealing God's glory because he was an obedient servant, but he was a rebel that was going to reveal the power and the almighty deliverance of God. And that's the same thing you could say for any people group, even Jews. I'm just going to tell you right now, it doesn't matter their illustrious history that they handled the actual documents of the Torah and the prophets and everything else in their history. What matters is whether they listened. Did they listen to the messages that God sent them? And that goes for you and me as well. I'm not just talking Jews. I'm talking Gentiles. Did the Holy Spirit speak to you? Did God give you a message through his son Christ? Did you receive it or did you reject it? Because 2,000 plus years ago, the Jews rejected Christ and they turned him over. And he gave a curse upon the state of Israel and said, you will lose your house. It'll be desolate. And that's what happened. Okay, now the prophecies predict that they would come back to the land, but that wasn't because they were somehow righteous or anything. That just means that God's fulfilling his prophecies of the latter day. This is to show that we're here. I hope that'll make sense for those who are not aware of biblical prophecy. But let's get into the news and look at some of this information that is now hitting the fan. Are you ready? And by the way, I didn't mean to just ignore the chat here. I just want to say hello to everybody in the chat. CS Drivers, Toasted. I like the way you spell that, Toasted. Gina Mac, 79. Polish Coleslaw. Diane Ketterman. Prism. Scott and Becky. Wendy. And who else is in here? Ralph. I see Ralph in the house. We're going to start. I hope that we'll start doing some collabs with some people out there. If you're a big channel out there that's watching what we're doing, you want to be a part of what we're doing, give us a message. You can contact us at, I think, blazingpress.com, or you can also get prepared for our new app that's coming out. All the links are in the description below. And if you get that, if you register, you can communicate with me through the registration as well. There's a registration to get in line for the app. The app should be out in a couple weeks. I'm still working. I'm really just feverishly trying to do a bunch of stuff. Yesterday, the reason why I haven't been on lately is because we had a huge power outage, a huge wind event. We had a whole bunch of trees fall. I'm out there trying to cut the trees. I'm talking lots of trees. Okay, we had a lot of trees. We had a lot of power. The power lines all went down. The trees fell on the power lines. I mean, it was just. How many of you guys out there had terrible wind events? They said it supposedly swept all across the whole top of the United States, from Washington all the way to the Dakotas. Anybody out there have really bad straight line winds? Like 80 miles an hour. I mean, they were saying winds were up to 130 miles an hour in some places. 130. That's like a hurricane. I mean, like what? You're kind of a big channel on Facebook, Toasted? Really? I didn't know that. Polish coleslaw. You have to send me your channel. Yeah, 800. Oh, that's cool. That's right on. That's good. Polish coleslaw. Good to see you too, Wendy. Spaced out. It seems we got a lot of pot smokers following us too. Toasted. We got Toasted, and we also have spaced out. It seems. You all know that they're hitting that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I don't know if that's true or not. It could be, but I don't think so. They wouldn't do that and be listening to me. No, they wouldn't do that. Anyways, let's get into the info and the news. You saw 144 miles per hour on the mountains as well. Wow, Cody, are you kidding? That is huge. Toasted is 420. Oh, that's good. Spaced out. It seems it's very good to live in without having any crutches. If you don't have the need for any kind of medicine, don't take it. Don't take it if you don't need it. Let God be your healer if you can have that kind of faith. The Bible says strong drink is for those who are going down to the grave. Now, I'm not saying you can't mitigate pain with some kind of medication, and if you need it, you got to have it, and you're in a lot of pain, but pray for healing. Ask God to get you delivered. Don't be dependent on something that you don't really need anyway. Amen. Live in reality as much as possible, I always say. But that's good. Spaced out. God bless. And Toasted is coming around too. He knows too. He knows. That's a cat. Seriously, a Cat 3 hurricane, 140 miles an hour. Actually, I think that's even bigger than a Cat 3, isn't it? A Cat 3? A Cat 3, that's got to be like a Cat 4. That's got to be a cat in crazy. Okay. All right, let's get into the news. All right, let's pull this up here really quickly and get my screen on here. And by the way, if anybody does want to support the channel, don't go through YouTube. Go through this link right here. Buy coffee. That way your little message can pop up, and it goes directly. We don't have to pay out YouTube in the process. We don't have to pay YouTube. We don't want to pay YouTube. We don't want to pay YouTube anymore. YouTube takes too much. They're just we're just propping up the, and I know they get enough from our ads. They don't need anything else. We need more than what they got. Anyways, let's get into the news here. Let's see where we're at here. All right. Let me see if I got this squared away here. I don't know if you saw this. I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe what Trump is doing. So Trump, and I mean this... I mean, they did this already on the Hall of Fame of presidents inside the White House, right? He's really making a big deal about this whole Wall of Fame. For all the presidents, they put their pictures up, right? Well, for Biden, he put up an auto pen. We knew that. And, he's got his little golden dilly-dallies everywhere. I mean, it just reminds me of like 60s gaudy kind of gold and puke green kind of. I mean, if it was real gold, I just even doubt it's real gold, but it's just like, it just looks gaudy, like maybe even spray paint, if you ask me. I don't even know. Golden dilly-dallies are everywhere. But anyways, what is on these, what they added to the Presidential Hall of Fame of Picture walk is not only did they make fun of Biden and Obama, but they put a scathing, and it sounds just like Trump's tweets. You know how Trump tweets like huge long sentences? It's like embarrassing. It's like, dude, like you should have someone that like kind of at least proofread some of the things that you say. But anyway, these plaques are just beautiful plaques, but they're just like a long hate tweet against Obama and against Biden. It just looks like something that you would see in high school or something, just on a higher level, on a presidential level. It just looks like something you would see in high school. I'm telling you, this is absolutely beyond anything. I'll show you the picture. Let's go ahead and look. We might as well take a look. I mean, why not? Let's go take a look. I gotta show you what it looks like. So we're over here at blazingpress.com. blazingpress.com, and you got to check out blazingpress.com because we're doing a lot of news. We're putting news up there as well. So go over to blazingpress.com and just check this out. So he's got the little plaques of the presidents. There's the auto pen of Biden in between him being happy and then now he's very angry, right? He's got the happy and the angry, and in the between is the auto pen of that's Biden's picture, right? He wasn't really a president, right? Okay. Well, here's some more footage of the pictures, and then look at the plaques. Look at the plaques. So they add these really nice plaques, and the one for Obama, I mean, this one here says, Sleepy Joe Biden was by far the worst president in American history, taking office as a result of the most corrupt election ever seen in the United States. Biden oversaw a series of unprecedented disasters that brought our nation to the brink of destruction. His policies caused the highest inflation ever recorded, leading the U.S. dollar to lose more than 20% of its value in 4 years. His Green New scam surrendered American energy dominance, and by abolishing the southern border, Biden let 21 million people from all over the world pour into the United States, including from prisons, jails, mental institutions, and insane asylum. Break. Period. His Afghanistan disaster was the most humiliating events in American history and resulted in the murder of 13 brave American service members. And then he just goes on. And then there's another one he puts underneath it. Nicknamed Sleepy Joe and Crooked, Joe Biden was dominated by his radical left handlers. They and their I mean, this just goes on. Like, this is like absolutely crazy writing. And then look what he did for Obama. So he puts Obama's picture up there. And he says, Barack Obama was the first black president, a community organizer, one-term senator from Illinois, and one of the most divisive political figures in American history. As president, he passed the highly ineffective Unaffordable Care Act. Unaffordable Care Act, resulting in his party losing control of both houses of Congress and the election of the largest House Republican majority since 1946. And we still can't get anything done, right? What the heck is going on here? Okay, so he presided over a stagnant economy, approved the terrible Iran nuclear deal, and signed the one side. This is all great. This is all great. I don't have a problem with criticisms, but my gosh, to do it in such a way like this, this is an embarrassment. This is an embarrassment. We all know that there's all kinds of problems with the previous administration and the one before that. Okay, not in any way denying that, but for the white hats or the other side of the coin to call the kettle black, I mean, there's no difference in terms of what is actually happening. I mean, if you don't know what's happening on the white hat side or on the good fruit of the same tree of knowledge of good and evil, you don't understand Hegelian dialectic. You don't know anything about WWE fighting, that it's fake. Okay, even though they say fake news on the one side, it's all fake news. Well, How do you know that it's not fake news? It's saying fake news, and it's all just unreality. It's like AI slop. You don't know what's real and what's not because it's all been generated for your consumption. That's exactly what the Hegelian dialectic is. If you don't know what the Hegelian dialectic is, you need to go get educated on how they herd everybody from two opposing sides on purpose. They make them arc against each other. They make them fight with each other, and they're playing everybody off of each other. It's called controlled opposition. Okay, it's like controlled opposition. They got the opposition, but they control it for a purpose. Okay, that's what's happening on the right. So even though they hold some external, it's kind of like Pharisees. Oh, Pharisees were right in every. Outwardly, they did a lot of good things. Oh, they gave alms, they tithed, they did everything externally beautiful and perfect, and they were great leaders. They were looked up to as being the intelligentsia of the day and the holy men of the day and the politicians of the day, and they were revered. But what were they really all about? They were corrupt to the heart, and they rejected the Lord of glory, and they enabled and they facilitate his crucifixion. Okay, so it doesn't really matter. The heart is deceitful. You can have a clean outside of your cup. You can clean the outside of the cup, but if it's inwardly full of dead man's bones, whitewashed tombs, it doesn't matter. Because it doesn't matter what people see. It matters what's really within, the true motive. Okay, so I just say, criticism for all, understand the depths of corruption, understand the depravity of the human heart, and really what's really going on the higher level. Okay, this is demonic to the highest levels. And it's called the art of deception. It should be. It should be the demons that masquerade as angels of light. They masquerade. It doesn't matter if they tell you sweet little lies and they make you feel good. If they're leading you down a primrose path to destruction, it's even worse. At least the devil, when he comes to you looking like a devil, you can at least identify it. But what about when he comes to you telling you sweet little lies and making you feel good and telling you all the things you want to hear, even though it's not true? And you want to believe it because you just want to have faith. You just want to trust the plan. You just want to believe the best. His intentions are good. I mean, that doesn't matter. Wake up, everybody. I'm just saying there's people I hear every day telling me these things, and I'm like, you need to wake up. I'm not really mad or anything at anything that's going on. I don't have an axe to grind here just for the purpose of grinding an axe. I'm just wanting to live in the truth. I want to live in reality. I don't want to be living in a fantasy land, with little tattoo. The plane. Welcome to Fantasy Island. You want to have your fantasies fulfilled? But anyways, I'm not going to be living Fantasy Island here. All right, so President Trump says that the current financial system is outdated and will soon be replaced with a state-of-the-art cryptocurrency framework under the new structure bill. So we chronicled that story over on BP News channel. If you go over there at the BP blazingpress.com, you'll see it in his own words. Let's listen to see what he had to say, okay? Let's see what Trump's saying. He's telling you that the dollar is dead. Effectively, is what he's really saying is the dollar is dead, America. We're going to put all of our money into cryptocurrency, in particular Bitcoin, which happens to be falling from its highs of 120,000 per coin all the way down to like 80,000. So when Trump and his sons told everybody to pour their money into Bitcoin, you know what happened? It crashed. Okay, and it's still crashing. And our economy is going to be based upon Bitcoin? You really believe that? We're going to transition out of the dollar? You think anything's going to happen bad? Oh, yeah, I'm telling you, that's why all the wars are getting ready to go off right now. You should be hearing alarm bells and preparing yourself quickly. But here we go. Listen to this.
Many Americans are unaware that behind the scenes, the technical backbone of the financial system is decades out of date, many, many years out of date. You know that. Paul and others are straightening it out, but payments and money transfers are costly and take days or even weeks to clear. Under this bill, the entire ancient system will be eligible for a 21st century upgrade using the state-of-the-art crypto technology. Who would have thought we would have been saying that 2 years after?
Yeah. Well, did you hear what he said in the beginning? Most people don't know that. This is why we're telling you this, because you don't know what's coming. And he's reading this as if he's being told what to say, because he's been telling people all these lies for so long. The people don't realize what's about to happen. Listen to what he said again. Not too many people know this.
Many Americans are unaware that behind the scenes,
Many Americans are unaware of what's going on behind the scenes. Did you hear what he said? A little bit of truth right there is being read, because they have to let you know before it all happens. See, we told you. We told you it was coming. Remember? On December 18th, Trump told you that you don't know what's going on behind the scenes because the whole system's broke. And they got to reboot it with cryptocurrency as our main reserve currency now. We're going to be the Bitcoin capital of the world. And when everybody jumps on board, because everybody says they're going to come back on board, what's this coin's going to go up to $1 million and we're going to be rich, because we got lots of reserves. The U.S. has huge holdings in crypto. And once the crypto shoots to the moon, then we'll have all kinds of extra money to pay off our debts. And then we'll be debt free, right? Do you really think that's going to happen? Do you really, really think that's going to happen? Or is this just another one of those Trump meme coin get rich quick schemes? And if you didn't follow the whole meme coin thing, you need to understand how this is all really set up here. And I'm not saying people didn't make money off of Bitcoin. I'm not saying that. If you bought in at $1,000 and you held on, hey, you're $100,000 or 80 now, 85,000. It was 125,000. But hey, you're $85,000 richer. Hooray, hoorah. But what happens if you're those people that bought in at 125,000 when Trump said to buy in, and all of his sons were touting it that was going to go to 1 million? What happens to you there? Now it crashed all the way down to 85. How much did you lose? Maybe you bought like 10 Bitcoins because you thought it was going to go to 1 million. You thought your future was secure. You thought it was going to pay off all your debts once you made all that income. You're going to make a great investment because Trump told me to put the money in. He said it's going to go to the moon. Well, it surely did go to the moon. If the Earth is up here and the moon is down here, yeah, it went straight down is where it went. Unless the moon is up here, and then you can say to the moon, but it went straight to hell is where it went. And yeah, but anyways, Disclosure Day, Steven Spielberg movie, kind of weird movie, very strange movie. I don't even know why I posted that, but I was bored. I was just doing binge tweeting last night at 2 a.m. You can see it. I was up at 1 a.m. I said I wasn't going to be updating Telegram as much, but I don't know. I just love the format of Telegram, but I have so much to do that it's like I'm trying to make sure I spread I don't want to be too spread out here. But here is Trump's economic agenda. Some commentary coming from Fox News. You have to listen to what Fox News is actually saying here. I mean, this is Trump. These are Trump people. These are all the people that supported Trump, right? This is the Trump News Network, right? Wouldn't you say that? The Trump News Network? All right, so what are they saying? Well, here's what they're saying.
The president has a big task ahead of him because the truth is that many people aren't feeling a strong economy. I mean, it's getting record low numbers, around 36% approval when it comes to the economy. You're also seeing a lot of everyday Americans, frankly, struggling. Still credit card balances up near all-time highs. So I'd like to see some semblance of compassion for everyday Americans who maybe just simply aren't feeling the exuberance that the president has alluded to over and over again. He's giving himself an A+++. I'm not sure many Americans would feel the same.
So, Brian,
an A++++. He's saying that the economy is so hot and everybody wants to be us. I don't know how that's possible, but we're going to show you about how we're getting so close to war. Just hold tight. I want to show you all the little pieces, though, that show us that our economy is collapsing. We've got terrorism all around us, and they're not really saying, hey, these are all Muslims that are doing all these shootings. These are Muslims. They're rising up. They're just, father and son teams here, and some lone Muslim with a cloak on going and shooting up another school. And you got the one in, it's almost like they've been activated. Like there's something. And I'll just tell you this, when you start seeing a lot of these events happening consecutively back to back, you know that it's getting real close. So I would say be very vigilant if you're in large, groups of people, especially around the holidays. I would say be very, very cautious because I think that thing is really close. Trump to send checks to military as war looms with Venezuela. So Trump is going to send checks. Like, how big are these checks? $1,700. Really? Wow. That's a big check. Well, actually, they put it as $1,776. So the check amount is $1,776. Why $1,776? Because it's symbolic. It's symbolic, right? What is that? The Revolutionary War, right? Maybe they should have given checks for like 1,860, because wasn't that the Civil War, right around there, 1859? I don't even know. I think it was somewhere in mid 1800s. They should have given the troops a little more, like maybe a little extra. Why not? Let's just commemorate the Civil War. How's that? Because that's really what's fixing to happen. I mean, there's people talking Civil War on the left and on the right, especially with the Charlie Kirk event and now the Rob Reiner. People are like thinking, Trump is insensitive. He hates the left. He's got a Santa's naughty list that they had to take down. They had to take that video down off the internet. They posted on the White House because it was so incendiary. It was so hateful. It was so divisive. And it put a lot of people on edge because they felt that they would be targeted. And then right after that, Rob Reiner dies. Well, yeah, his son went crazy, cuckoo, loco. And from what we're understanding, is he the one that really did this? They're saying it is. But with all the stuff that comes out about who the perpetrators are and how they're searching for evidence, even in the Charlie Kirk scenario, I don't trust anything that's coming out in mainstream, government type stuff. Nothing. I sat and watched last night an hour-long interview with Candace Owen and Piers Morgan, all about the Charlie Kirk stuff. And if you haven't been following the Charlie Kirk saga and all the investigation and all the evidence that's behind what went on there, it is absolutely mind-blowing. And you have to follow it. If you're going to just sit and watch Piers Morgan and Candace banter back and forth, you have to know what they're talking about to understand. But it's just an amazing conversation, to say the least. Piers Morgan, total and complete, paid off, part of the establishment. But Candace did such an amazing job. Candace did a great job explaining her points and why she says what she says, and her influence. They try to spin everything. They're just trying to really make her look like she's a complete lunatic. But everything she's saying is gaining so much momentum, and there's so many people following what she's saying on social media that they have to answer her. They have to respond to her because there's just way too many millions of people that are agreeing with her. Okay, so the power of the people, obviously, they're going to have to neutralize. They're going to have to somehow put a stop to this because it's gaining too much power. The influencers are gaining too much influence on social media. And the AI is going to do something here soon. I'm sure that there's going to be some kind of major, distraction in the world that's going to cause everybody to just be focused on those events. Black Swan here, Black Swan there, Black Swan over here, Black Swan in America. I mean, it's going to be everywhere. There's going to be just events that are going to be happening one after another because there's just too much stuff hitting the fan. Whether it's all the evidence that's going or non-evidence that's coming out about Charlie Kirk or whatever they're saying the shooters are all Muslims and they're trying to kind of quash that so people don't realize that, hey, we're under attack. Trump's alluding to the fact that if chaos breaks out, it's all the previous administration's fault. This is all the previous administration's fault. They decimated the economy. Oh, and what about the ancient dollar, right? The dollar that's ancient and the technology that is causing our transactions to not work. We need cryptocurrency technologies because we got to get rid of the old system. Oh, the whole reset is coming. And yeah, the golden phoenix will rise out of the ashes of whatever's left because the ashes haven't gotten here yet. Trump keeps saying that the golden age is coming and it's rising up. Out of the ashes is what it's coming from. Right? But there's got to be some ashes. Well, that's why they keep talking about the Great Reset and about Build Back Better. That whole concept of Build Back Better under Biden was, they had to rebuild, but it hasn't gotten to that point. They got to destroy everything first before they can rebuild. There has to be a Build Back Better after destruction. There has to be a reset after everything falls apart. Has that happened yet? I think we're on the brink of that happening now. And the wars are going to just push it all over the top. Listen to what Putin said. When you hear Putin saying this, Putin said that the European leaders are all piglets. He is pissed off. You can see Putin is pissed off because he knows global war is about to be unleashed. And he's going to go in and he's going to break some things in Europe. He's going to probably take over the whole of Ukraine. And the Europeans are going to get their butts handed to them by his new unleashed and operational hypersonics. They just presented these new hypersonics. Did you see that? That they're going to be in the theater now. And they have 10 potential warheads on one hypersonic. It can't be stopped. And they're nuclear capable. And now Europe is now preparing their sons and daughters for war. Did you see that? Where they are now telling their sons and daughters. I'll show you all the video on this. They're saying this in the last 24 hours. We need to get ready to go to war. They're telling their sons and daughters must sacrifice and for the homeland, and they need to be ready for war with Russia. The generals are now on video now preparing places like the UK and Europe all for this war. So that came out yesterday. Let me just show you a couple things here. Let's go ahead and look at a few other things here. And I like this kid. This kid, I call him a kid because he looks like he's probably in his. He might be in his 30s, but he's still a kid, even if he's in his 30s to me. But he's a smart kid, and I like listening to his videos. I don't know who he is. Somebody, his name is Moon Henry. Moon Henry. I don't know if he's on TikTok. He's probably on all of them. I don't even know if he's got a YouTube channel or not, but he's got some good stuff. Listen to what he had to say. Just listen carefully.
Right now. Yeah, it's war, but not just with Venezuela. I always come out with sarcasm, but I really can't this time. When I see armies around the world, all preparing right now as we speak. The UK, Canada, other places in Europe. Remarks from the president. Of course, you may have seen Tucker Carlson come out and said that tonight's address is allegedly about going to war with Venezuela. But is Venezuela a proxy for Iran? Shut up. Watch this first and I'll fill you in.
Is Trump going to start a war in Venezuela?
And so here's what I know so far, which is that members of Congress were briefed yesterday that a war is coming, and it'll be announced in the address to the nation tonight at 9 o'clock by the president.
And real quick for the comments that say, oh, it's only Venezuela. It's Venezuela. It's Colombia. It's the Middle Eastern countries. It's Russia. And they said the same thing before Vietnam, and we lost Vietnam. I already showed you guys about how Marco Rubio came out and said that, Venezuela was working for Iran. Totally believable, right? And there's other Middle Eastern countries that want something to happen in Venezuela. But while this is going on, we also have UK coming out saying that you better get your sons and daughters ready to fight Russia. At the same time, Russia comes out calling all European nations pigs, and also scheduling all of 2026 as the year of war.
The most obvious impact on all of us will be the cost of building this resilience. Sons and daughters, colleagues, veterans will all have a part to play.
Nah, dude, you get out there. Just wait for the ops from the political pundits that make all Americans want this to happen. Oh wait, did you know it's already happening? Did you miss the last 2 weeks? Not related at all. Of course, I was the first person to hop on and make a video about just the massive amount of oil that Venezuela had. Months later, like 6 months later, like clockwork, he's talking about the energy. And Venezuela is saying it's about oil. This is the same exact story, just a different generation. By the way, you should really be stocking up.
Yeah, he said he should be stocking up. Yeah, and I mean, he didn't really explain it that well, but I'm going to just tell you this. Trump has stated that we are now in Venezuela because of them stealing our oil. Did you hear what I just said? He said this in the last 24 hours. Trump made a statement that we're in Venezuela, not because of drugs, but because they stole our oil. Whose oil is it really? Oh, well, we leased their fields. We leased, they kicked us out of our leases is what happened. We were in there big time. And, we had interest in there, obviously, with the oil. And Venezuela ended those contracts, basically. And so Trump says, no, that's our oil. Those are our factories. That's our stuff. We're going in there to get it back. That's what he's basically saying now. This is the reason. This is the narrative that's been changed. It's no longer drugs. Remember, Trump had said about a week ago, there's a lot more to this than just drugs, right? And now they're slowly transitioning the message now so that everybody understands, an existential threat to our economy is energy. And we don't have the power that we need in order to engage in a global war or keep the AI running or, for that matter, to keep your lights on because we are being sucked. All the energy is just a big sucking sound coming out of the AI factories that are being built. I'm going to be like a Ross Perot. Remember Ross Perot? Shimmy, 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 shimmy. Oh, there's a big sucking sound coming out of Mexico. It's coming out of these AI database centers, and you don't have no energy or prices are going through the roof. That's Ross Perot. And so that's exactly what's happening. The sucking sound is that your money and your prices on electricity are going up through the roof. And if you haven't noticed lately and haven't looked at your bill, it's probably $200 or $300 or $400 more expensive, or even more, depending on how much you use, than it was a few months ago. It's because they're sucking a lot of energy from the grid to power AI so that we can win this AI warfare with China. And we're not going to win. They're way ahead. China is way ahead. They are so far ahead of us, it's not even funny. And did you see the stocks in Oracle and all the tech giants falling right now? It's because it's all coming to fruition. Look at the let me just see what the stocks are here on Oracle. And Oracle is the one that's pulling everything down right now, too. Let's look at the chart here. Over 1 month, let's see. So Oracle has been down. It was at $220 a share, and now it's at $180. $180 a share. So it's lost about $40 a share in the last month. It literally just took a big dive since the 10th. So since the 10th of December, Oracle has lost. It was at $223 a share on the 10th of December. It is now $180 a share. Oracle. And you know why? Because we're having our butts handed to us by China. And everything is literally falling apart. And this tech bubble is going to burst. It's already started to burst. December 10th, today, December 18th. There you go. Not good. And what else do we got? Let's see what else we got. We got a lot of other stuff to talk about here. Okay, so we've got some video footage here out of the UK, I believe this is. This is out of the... No, this is European Parliament. European Parliament. It looks like a dystopian future. Look at this. This is the European Parliament. Look at what is going on here. And this is all the farmers. The farmers are doing this because they are pissed off. They are dumping trash, setting fires, chaos outside of the European Parliament as thousands of farmers protest outside the building in Brussels. This is the center of Europe right here, of the European government, EU government, right? Brussels. And you know why? Because they're killing farmers. They're killing off the farmers. They're doing the same thing in the United States, but people just don't see it. They don't understand it. They don't see what's really going on. I'm telling you guys, they are trying to take over your food supply. And they've been doing this for many years. It's just now coming to a head. Everything is coming to a head right now. And it's happening globally. It's not just in the United States. This is like a global thing. Brussels looks like a war zone. Look at this. That's pretty toxic too. I mean, there's people are sitting there breathing all that in. And this is footage of farmers and police clashing in front of the EU headquarters. And this has been going on for the last month. There's been a whole bunch of this happening also in the UK. They did that same thing. They went with all their tractors and everything down, blocking all the traffic for miles and miles. Confrontations with police, just mayhem on the streets with the farmers. This was happening about a month ago. I believe it was in England. And now it's happening here. A Chinese VLCC tanker carrying 1.8 million barrels of Venezuela's highest grade Mercury 16 crude has departed from Jose Terminal, Venezuela, towards China. The shadow vessel is receiving an escort by the Venezuelan Navy. So is this thing going to be commandeered? This is one of the ones that they say the U.S. needs to take over. That'd be interesting if they took it. Trump's DOJ is working around the clock to redact thousands of pages from the Epstein files before the legally required release on Friday. So lots of pages are going to be exposed to the light of day, but there are many, many redactions that they need to put out there. Something going on in California. What is this? Crazy weird fog. They're saying they don't know what it is. It's unsafe for prolonged outside activities right now, according to the weather app. So primary pollutants are carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxide. I mean, it's really bad from what I understand. And there has been weird fog. It's been all over the country. We had some very weird fog a few days ago. And we never have, I mean, we don't see fog at all. We haven't seen any fog until all this started happening, when they started talking about this toxic radioactive fog. They call it a radioactive fog. I don't know. Has anybody been seeing weird fog lately? This is in California here. But it says here, it seems to be foggy, but it's completely dry here. I can see something constantly being sprayed into the sky. And they're talking about those chemtrails. When you see all those trails crisscrossing your skies by the planes that are unloading something on the populace, who knows what they're doing? Geez, it's just absolutely crazy. And these are real programs, too. It used to be that the government would say these are conspiracy theories, but they finally had to admit that it's all a legitimate program to spray the skies to try to reflect back and protect the globe from radiation coming from the sun, supposedly, or something like geoengineering, And so these programs have been ongoing for quite some time, but they tried to tell you were crazy for even recognizing these chemical trails. They're chemical trails. They would say, "Oh no, they're just those are just contrails." That's what happens when there's cold air but contrails dissipate very quickly. Chemtrails, they'll stay in the sky and they'll get bigger and bigger, and then they totally, completely blanket the whole. You had a blue sky before, and all of a sudden now all you got is a white, gray, overcast after they blanket your skies with these chemtrails. And it happens within an hour or two of all these things popping up on your blue sky. Your blue sky all of a sudden disappears. Why are they doing that? And it's unsafe. What's in it? Barium is in it, and there's a bunch of chemicals, hard metals, heavy metals that are very small particles that are just floating in the air. So you got to wonder what they're doing here in California. Let's see what else we got here. Let me pull up some other info here. Let me make sure I can see it here before I pull it here. Let's see. Rent is officially okay. Yeah, there's all kinds of people talking about the economy online. If you go on YouTube and you just start listening to videos, I mean, it's just one thing after another of people complaining about not having any money, not having enough to pay their bills, not having enough to exist or to live. I mean, literally, people are moving into sheds and storage units, and it's just absolutely crazy what people are having to do now to survive. I mean, geez. I don't know how else to explain it except for the fact that social media is inundated with these types of videos. And this is why Fox News is saying that, oh no, don't tell me my thing is stuck. Gosh darn it. See, there's now my screen is froze up. Why has this been going on? This has been happening lately. Can you guys still see me out there? I might have to hard reboot here if I can't stop this. Okay. Can you guys still see me? Testing 1, 2. Let's see. Am I still here? Okay, there we go. Nope, that didn't work. Let's see if I'm still on here. Oh, you can? Okay, there we go. Nope, that didn't work. Can you guys still see me? Okay, good. I'm still on. Okay, I had to restart the program. So my streaming software froze up. Yeah, and I can't do anything when that happens. So thank God that we're still here. Okay, so we're still here. All right. So I was going to show you a video, and let me see if I can put it on here. Just kind of give you a little feel for what's happening. And these videos come every day. Every single day there's always a whole new compilation of people talking about their circumstances. And these people give little context so they can show, hey, I'm an average person. I'm doing everything right. I'm trying, I've got, a family, I've got, we're both working, and we just can't make ends meet. We're having to cut this and cut that and cut this, and still, I mean, it's just really, really crazy to hear these stories. But let's just listen to a few. I haven't heard this one yet, but these are like, this happens every day. Every day. This is like a 50-minute long compilation within the last 24 hours of people on social media talking about their horrendous circumstances. Okay, so let's listen.
I'm currently living in a storage unit.
I live in a 600 square foot shed with 3 little kids and my husband.
I'm 22 years old and I am currently living out of my vehicle. I live in a state where things are very expensive.
A lot of people are asking me why I live in a shed. Why not just have a normal house like normal people?
Step 1, be a ghost. Don't be seen by employees or tenants, or be seen as little as possible. Go in before or after the employee gets there, outside of normal business hours, so they don't see you.
I live in my car. I've lived in my car for 9.5 months now, and winter is coming, so how do I keep myself warm during the winter?
I'm living in my car, my little S10. This is me. It's my home for the foreseeable future. And yeah, I don't know what to do.
I always try to tell people you will never get rich working a 9-to-5 job, because the rich never got rich that way. The rich are telling you guys, go work a 9-to-5 job and you will be like us. But they really got their money from generational wealth.
More and more people are really struggling here in the United States to put a roof over their head. A lot of people are not able to qualify for apartments or...
Big reveal. There's the bed. Super comfy, straight on the ground with a pillow and the recording setup. And this is where the magic goes down. It's like, I don't even know, 8 by 8. I love it.
It's been almost 2 years since my husband and I made the switch from traditional living to off-grid canvas tent living. We were paying $17.50 a month for a 1-bedroom, 680 square foot apartment. Our basic living expenses, rent, electric, water, trash, and internet, was approximately $3,200. And now that we have chosen to live this unconventional lifestyle, our rent, electric, water, trash, and internet do not exceed $600 per month. And while we live very differently, we still have all of the basic amenities that you need to live a comfortable life. We have a refrigerator and a freezer. We have microwave, toaster oven, crock pot, skillet. We have this beautiful wood stove that keeps us toasty warm. We use Jackery solar generators for electricity, which I might add, these do provide free electricity if you charge them by solar. We did build a deck so the tent would be up off the ground on a solid foundation. We also did that so that we could attach our frame to the deck, so that we would be able to endure the high winds that we get in the spring. Out here, we made a covered area. We have a Blackstone grill. This is one of our gas generators. We run our gas generators when we run high wattage appliances like our air conditioner. We built our outdoor bathroom, and that does consist of a composting toilet and a Camp Lux shower. Camp Lux shower is hot with water pressure. It pumps out 1.58 gallons of water per minute. It is a fabulous outdoor off-grid shower. We also have a utility sink in here so that we can wash our dishes with hot running water. The canvas tent does open in the front and the back. We have a 275-gallon water tank. Our water is hauled in from a well. It is 2 cents per gallon and a $5 delivery fee. That is our Starlink satellite, and that is another generator. We lease our property for $300 a month. Our electric bill runs approximately $30 a month for the fuel for the generators. Our water costs $10 a month. Oh, that's our wood storage. Our satellite internet is $120 a month, and we do not pay for trash disposal. And that comes out to under $600 a month. So if you are struggling in today's economy and are looking for a way out, Canvas Tent Living might work for you.
I live in my car. I've lived in my car for 9.5 months now, and winter is coming, so how do I keep myself warm during the winter? First thing is that I have a negative 20-degree sleeping bag, which keeps me warm even on some of the coldest.
All right, you get the gist. This is, like I said, look at this. This is just the beginning of, this goes on for at least an hour of people talking about how they're surviving in this economy. And these are not people that are on drugs, and these are not people that are, lazy. These are people that are genuinely trying to figure out how to survive an economy that is imploding, that is literally falling apart. We know that. How many of you guys out there understand? I'm kind of curious. I'm going to ask you here in the audience. It's just like an impromptu poll. An impromptu poll here in the audience. And I want you to type 1 in the chat room if you are having very difficult financial troubles right now. You're living off of credit cards. You're just living day to day. It just seems like things are getting worse. Doesn't seem like your business or the jobs that you've had are there anymore. You're not able to just make ends meet. It just seems like the environment is so terrible that, prices keep expanding and nothing is coming in. There's no way to get relief. Even if you have a job or two, it's not meeting your income is not meeting the expense. And and it's good to cut back. I mean, like, if you had to do what that lady did, very amazing. If you could do something like that and live comfortably and live happily, in a tent, hey, do it that way. But still, they still had $600 in expenses, even though they were living in a tent. But think about, how you can survive, how you can cut back your expenses, because that's what you're going to have to do. Or you're going to have to find people to live with, like a commune. Maybe this is where communal living is going to come back into place. We were talking about communal messaging in the Bible in the first chapter of Acts, when people were giving their selling their properties and trying to help others in the church, the fledgling church, and that was a part of their devotion to God, whereas they were giving of their substance to help those that didn't have, and they had communities. They had built their own communities. That might be what needs to happen. People might need to open up their properties to people that are in need, and allow maybe a little tent, a tent city to grow on their property. Who knows? Freedom Deep, you're having issues. Okay, Eunice, Becky, Michael, yes. Pamela, Gina Mac, I know. Everybody's being affected. And we wanted to try to use our platform to try to facilitate some kind of remedy in some way. Maybe there's, I mean, I don't know. We pray for answers for all of you out there. I mean, we're praying for a lot of answers. Yeah, you don't want to just sleep in your car. That's really not the answer. You have to have some kind of a location in order to be safe. You don't want to be just living in your car. It's time. I believe I agree with you, Polish coleslaw. It's time for God's people to get together and start working and building a community. Warrior for Jesus, yes. And having people that have skills getting together is also very helpful. If you can have a community of people that have skills that can contribute to the overall, and I don't want to make it seem like it's kind of cult mindset or anything, but you almost have to, people are saying, well, you got to move in with your parents. You got You got a extended family needs to get together and start helping each other. Well, extended, especially if you're a person that has a mindset that goes contrary to the materialism of today. If you got people that are in your family that are very materialistic, maybe they don't have any faith, maybe they're not Christians. I say this from a Christian point of view. You want to make sure that your true family, those who do have a heart for God, and those that do truly understand what it means to love your neighbor as yourself, to give, right? To know how to give of yourself and to serve each other, right? We are to serve each other. And that even if you don't have resources, you're still supposed to be a servant. You're supposed to still think about others even more so than you think about yourself. God is going to protect and provide if you trust him, right? Don't you think God will provide for all your needs? I do. I think that God can do that. There's no problem with God not meeting people's needs. So we and the Amish do have it right. We have people that live around us that are they're not Amish, but they're relatives of the Amish. I guess they're cousins of the Amish. We call them Mennonites. How many of you guys know Mennonites? You got any Mennonites living around you? Mennonites are very similar to the Amish, and I guess they're a branch of the Amish. But they work amongst themselves. They're very tight knit. They take care of their own, and their businesses all work together. And it's kind of like they invest in their own. They keep the money within the community. They don't invest in, and they don't spend their money outside of their community, mostly. We need to start doing that. YouTube requires a current? What do you mean? I'm not sure. Oh, are you talking about electricity? Communes coming soon to a meadow near you? Royal splendor for sure. For sure. Or when someone that has a piece of property that wants to house or host somebody, we could have a tent city out in our back area. We might be thinking about doing that. Who knows? Getting a tent city for people out there. You have to have a good climate, though. In a climate that is very cold, it's very difficult for people to live with less means in a colder climate. You want to probably be in a more warmer climate, though. Our climate is way too cold for that. We get temperatures down below 20, and like I said, we had winds yesterday that were probably 80 miles an hour that blew down all these huge trees. I mean, it had to have been stronger than 80 miles an hour. I think these winds had to have been close to 100. And they came through in a very short period of time. It only lasted for like maybe 5 minutes, maybe. But in that 5-minute span, you had huge trees just falling everywhere. They're just falling everywhere, breaking phone lines or power lines. You don't want to be in a tent when you got 80 or 90 mile an hour winds. That would not be good. You'll be like Dorothy on The Wizard of Oz. You'll be like seeing the Wicked Witch flying around your tent up in the middle of a big hurricane or something, whatever. You have a slab city there in Southern California by the Salton Sea. Yeah. I think I've heard of that. I think I've heard about that city where people go. Yeah, I think I've seen some videos on YouTube about that. It is the tribulation. We are in the tribulation. People, I hope you all realize that. So what's going on with this whole conflict in Venezuela? Let's take a look and see where this is really going. I have a feeling that we are on the precipice of seeing war break out there. And my understanding of what I think is coming is that it's going to trigger. It's kind of like a massive earthquake that triggers all kinds of other earthquakes, and it kind of ripples through the crust of the earth. And I think that once this hits the fan, because of the interest that Russia and China have in the region, that this will begin a whole bunch of conflict in other parts of the world. Taiwan, possibly with Japan, because China doesn't, like Japan. And who knows, maybe even the Philippines. And then you've got the Middle East, where you've got Iranian interests. Well, Iran has a lot of interests in Venezuela as well. They're symbiotic compadres. They're working very closely together, and they have been. And so if we start trying to overthrow that whole region and we start a war there, they're going to get their sleeper cells, and they're going to do that asymmetrical warfare against the U.S. as well, not to mention Israel. They're probably going to just go all board, pedal to the metal on the war there and with Israel. You're going to have Hezbollah start. They're already doing something now. They're already preparing right now, very close to war in Israel and Iran. That thing is very close to going off. I would be very surprised if we didn't see something hit the fan within the next week. I'd be surprised if we don't see. I have a feeling it's like within days. I don't know what it is, but people have been saying this whole Venezuela thing it should have happened by now. But I had a feeling that it was going to be like a psychological warfare type wait and see. Like, let's just let them think about this and think that we're going to hit them right away, and we're just going to amass all of our armaments and our armada of troops on their coast and let them just sit based in that fear for a while, and then at a certain point we'll attack, and so let them just wonder when this attack is coming. And I think we're very close. Maybe this is still another round of psychological warfare because Trump has intimated that we're about to go in once again. This was another kind of messaging that's being put out there. You're seeing, air refueler tankers flying all over the place. You're seeing F-18s and F-35s and all kinds of warships just loitering off their coast. No fly zone's been imposed in the last, 24, 48 hours. Once again, NOTAM's being issued. An embargo. Whenever you have an embargo that's been posted, now they're saying nothing can come and go out of Venezuela. That's an act of war right there. What was it that caused Japan to attack and to sneak attack the U.S. in World War II? Why did they attack us at Pearl Harbor? Because we made an embargo on their country. We did not let anything come in or go out. And that is essentially an existential threat, because then you can't survive. Your people will starve. They're gonna lose everything. The whole economy is going to come to a screeching halt. And they're an island nation. They depend on imports and exports. And so when you do that embargo, you basically declare war. And so by doing that, there was no surprise. In fact, many historians say that we were expecting them to attack us, and that we wanted that to happen in order for us to enter in officially to the Second World War. So is this what we're doing right now with Venezuela? Are we wanting them to attack us? Are we going to use that as an excuse to go in and really break things? Are we just waiting for some big event like October 7th so that we can say, hey, we're declaring war on these crazy people. Look what they just did to us. They just took out one of our ships. They somehow they had a hypersonic laying around, and they just took out one of our destroyers or something. Let's go to war with them. And you're going to hear everybody in America, hoorah, let's go to war. It's going to be like a big, they attacked us. Right. Well, that's what's going to happen. It's probably something like that's going to happen. So perilous times for sure. Perilous times. Let's take a look and see what else we got here. I had some other things I was looking at. Okay, so Massachusetts authorities say that the Brown University shooter killed MIT nuclear scientists. So you know that MIT scientist that was recently killed in his home, and his wife, I think his wife were murdered too. Well, they're saying that the Brown University shooter killed the MIT scientist as well. You got to be kidding me. Let's listen to this. You got to be kidding. Let's take a listen.
The car that he had used to not only drive to Rhode Island, but then back to Boston. And then there was the security footage that captured him within a half mile of the professor's residence in Brookline. And there is a video footage of him entering an apartment building in the location of the professor's apartment. And then later that evening, he is seen about an hour later entering the storage unit wearing the same clothes that he had been seen wearing right after the murder.
So you have an extensive video canvas as part of this investigation. That leaves you no doubt.
This is the evidence we have right now. We are coming to you tonight because the federal complaint was unsealed, and we wanted to provide you with the information and to assure the public that law enforcement collectively believe that we have the person, that we identified the person, and that person is dead, and that he was the person responsible not only for the Brown shootings, but for the Brookline shooting.
Can you speak?
Well, that's interesting. What do you think of that? Let's see what else we got here. Jury finds Wisconsin judge guilty of obstruction for helping an illegal immigrant evade federal agents. Well, she might be doing some jail time, it looks like, huh? She looks like an older lady, too. It says FBI believes that the MIT nuclear scientist that was murdered in Boston and the Brown University shooter went to school together in Lisbon, Portugal. They knew each other? That's weird. So it says here that the Providence police say that Claudio Valenti acted alone. I guess that was the guy. And that there is no anti-Semitism component, quote unquote, to the attack. Was the scientist Jewish? Probably. He was a scientist, right? Probably Jewish. That's not anti-Semitic. No, he was a scientist, and I believe he probably was Jewish. But it says here that Brown University suspect identified as Claudio Manuel Neves Valenti was a 48-year-old former Brown University student and Portuguese national from Miami, Florida. Listen to this. Australia is now doing a gun buyback scheme following the Bondi Beach shooting. So they're taking guns. They're doing the same thing in Canada, too, by the way. Canadians are preparing for war in other places of the world. They're getting their young people ready for the draft, and they're also taking away guns domestically. And Canadian Prepper is a great channel to watch, but he's totally, completely livid. He was sitting there playing with a, like a fidget. You know how people play with their little things when they're talking? Sometimes I do that. I'll play with something. Like usually I'll play with, like if you ever hear a clicking noise, it's me just going like this. I'm playing with with these little clips. I got these clips for my implement on my little tractor. I put this in it. It keeps the implement attached. You ever seen these little clips? Anyways, I usually play with this little clip sometimes as a fidget thing. But so what happened is he's sitting there talking, and he's got a 308 bullet in his hand, and he plays with it, and he says, "I want to make sure I play with this before they're taken away because they're about to go away, and I want to make sure I have a little bit more time to be able to do this." So yeah, they're getting rid of those are hunting bullets. Obviously people that like to hunt. I don't know why they would want to take away hunting rifles. But they're taking away all guns, from what I understand, in Canada. There you go. What else here we've got? A new Florida school is on lockdown after AI flagged a clarinet as a gun. Some kid has a clarinet, and she walking into school with a clarinet, and the AI says, "Gun, gun, gun." So the whole school gets put on lockdown. Is that crazy? Wait till the AI says, "Hey, that guy's a terrorist," and all of a sudden you got people at your door. "Hey, AI said you were a terrorist. Can we see your hands, please?" Oh, no. Trump DOJ is working around the clock to redact thousands of pages from the Epstein files before the legally required release on Friday. It's Friday. Tomorrow is Friday. They're going to release all the Epstein files. Did you see the files of Bill Gates? No wonder Bill Gates got divorced from his wife. His wife finally said, "That's it." He probably said, "Honey," he probably told his wife, "Honey, there's going to be some files that are going to be released of me. I just want to let you know ahead of time that, I was over on the Epstein Island, and there was this a couple of these young girls that I was pictured with. We were just friends, though. It was just somebody that, Epstein wanted me to kind of take a picture with." But there's pictures of Bill Gates with these young girls, and he's like giving them hugs and holding them really tight, but they redacted the face. Not good. That's why his wife dumped him. She knew what was coming. She didn't want to be with him during these embarrassing moments. TikTok signs a deal to sell its U.S. entity to a joint venture controlled by American investors, quote unquote. The agreement is set to close on January 22nd. So that would be China. TikTok is China. So China, Chinese company, is signing a deal to sell it or maybe they already, I think China still owns a part of it from what I understand. Is that correct? Somebody can correct me on that. But anyways, we don't know. Authorities confirmed that NASCAR legend Greg Biffle, along with his family, have died in a private jet crash in North Carolina. Oh, that's too bad. Greg Biffle. Who was Greg Biffle? I don't even know. I don't follow NASCAR, but I know NASCAR's big. Let's see. So he died today. Yeah, that was today. Wow.
Seven people.
Let's see if this is it. Here is the footage of what, and I think it's basically simulated footage. I don't think it's actually the actual footage of what happened with his plane. Let's take a look.
Including former NASCAR driver Greg Biffle, his wife, and his 2 children, were tragically killed when the aircraft they were flying in crashed at the Statesville Regional Airport in North Carolina earlier today. Now, normally I don't make videos about breaking news plane crashes because there's so much that we don't know and it's too easy to speculate, but this one hits really close to home, and that's why I felt it was important to make this quick update just to walk you through the facts and talk about what we know so far. I'm Hoover, and welcome to your pilot debrief. I want to start with a quick overview. Now, because there weren't any winds, this isn't necessarily going to be an issue. But you can see when they're on this downwind here, they're pretty close to the runway, so it is setting up for a tight pattern. When we look at the altitude, we can see when they're on this downwind here, right here at this point, just before they start that turn, they're at 850 feet above the ground and possibly below the weather. We don't know for sure. Diving down to about 400 feet above the ground here, which is a pretty low altitude to be at when you're on a downwind leg. Again, we don't know why they're that low on the downwind, possibly because of weather. We just don't know for sure. Now, what I've done is I've backed this up to show you the cockpit point of view as they're coming into the runway. So you can see the runway coming into view right here. They're making this right-hand turn to potentially set themselves up on a downwind to land on runway 28 opposite the direction they took off from, which isn't necessarily going to be an issue because the winds were pretty light. But look at this rate of descent here, 1,400 feet per minute. They're 600 feet above the ground now on the downwind, now at 500 feet. And they end up going as low as I think about 400 feet here. We're going to see that in a second. There we are, 400 feet AGL. Right there, that little turn to the right, to me, indicates possibly they're trying to fix their spacing because they realize they're a little bit tight to the runway. They're doing 172 knots, which I've never flown this aircraft before, but that seems pretty fast to me to be on the downwind, especially at 350 feet AGL. That's low, you're going fast, you're tight on the runway. Now watch what happens. They start to turn away and then the airspeed starts slowing down. And again, this is ground speed, so it's not an actual indicated airspeed. But pay attention to this altitude here. The rate of climb and descent stabilizes, so they're about 450 feet. I don't know what kind of weather they're seeing. They're at 160 knots, and then they're going to start this left-hand turn to point back towards the runway. All right, here they go making that left-hand turn, and pay attention to the airspeed as they start to continue this left-hand turn back around to get pointed at the runway. They're starting a shallow descent. Now they're up around 500 feet above the ground. The airspeed is starting to decay, so it's starting to get back more into the normal range that I would expect for flying on an approach here. We're going to start to see the runway come into view in just a second or two here. And it looks like everything is going okay. They're still potentially a little bit low here, 500 feet. And I'll pause right there. Okay, we're at 100 knots, 450 feet above the ground, and you can see the runway off in the distance. Continue. And there are some airspeed fluctuations here, so this could be, some inconsistent data from the ADSB. We're not sure at this point. And then the flight data is going to end right around here, I believe. Now again, I don't want to speculate as to the reason why they crashed. What I did want to point out is some of the flight data to show you some of the inconsistencies with that vertical speed, how they were doing these climbs and descents, how some of the maneuvering was potentially very aggressive, but we don't know what was going on with the aircraft. If it was a controllability issue, if there was something else happening, we just don't know, and that's why it's so important to wait for the NTSB.
Yeah, so who knows? Maybe it was sabotaged at the last minute. All that data just disappeared where they looked like they were coming in okay. So who knows? I wonder if they knew something that they they took them all out. You always wonder about why do things like that happen? You got to wonder if there's something else going on there. Not good. How many of you guys saw the Santa's naughty list? Did you guys see that Trump posted that on the White House YouTube page and then they took it down? How many of you guys saw that? I thought that was kind of interesting, huh? The naughty list. Yeah, you got to wonder about the naughty list. Trying to figure out if people on the naughty list are going to have some coal in their stockings or worse. Could be something else in there. Who knows what they're going to do to the naughty people. So the shooter of the Brown University was found dead in a storage unit. And I guess he wasn't able to make, because the economy was so bad, he was living in a storage unit. Now, I don't know why he was in a storage unit, but I guess he killed himself in a storage unit, self-inflicted gunshot wound, it says. So he ended his life in a storage unit. Pretty weird. I don't know if you saw this post as well with the recent shooting that took place in Sydney, Australia. They said that there was an operation they said might have been still ongoing. Let's see if I can pull this up here. They arrested, the Sydney police ram a vehicle and arrest 7 men on their way to Bondi Beach to carry out another attack. 7 men. What do you think about that? Let's look and see what we're talking about here. It says, Sydney police ram car on way to Bondi Beach arrests 7 men planning violence. They intercepted the men who were allegedly heading to Bondi Beach in Sydney and arrested them in Liverpool following intelligence about planned disorder. And it shows, let's see the other images there. See a couple other images. No. It says video footage captured counterterrorism police clad in camouflage gear and wielding assault rifles as they arrested and restrained the men. It's believed that the officers used a police Land Cruiser to collide with a white Hyundai transporting several suspects. Let's see if we can find any kind of video for this. I don't see the video. Was this it? No, that's not it. I don't know why it would show us this. So, no video. That's the Hyundai right there that they rammed. It says the individuals were spotted laying on the tarmac in handcuffs after authorities successfully stopped them at a junction in Liverpool. Local news outlets report that the New South Wales police had received intelligence suggesting the group was planning to travel to Bondi Beach, having journeyed from Melbourne. And I guess there was a whole bunch of weapons that they found as well. Let's see if it says something about weapons in there. I heard that they had all kinds of weapons. It says that they were motivated by ICE terror group. Australian officials have confirmed the perpetrators, a father and son duo, were motivated. It says the 2 gunmen. Okay, this was the 2 gunmen, but it says here that it says officials disclosed that a violent act was possibly being planned, but emphasized that they discovered no links to the ongoing police probe into the Bondi terror incident. Police stated that the arrests represent a precautionary measure following the Bondi Beach shooting, an official police statement declared. Now, I had heard that there was all kinds of ammunition and other things that they confiscated out of the car. That's what I had heard. So that's kind of crazy stuff that we're not really hearing too much on our local media, are we? The West Coast has been hammered, and that would be, I guess, like Oregon, California, Washington, with trillions of gallons of rain, trillions of gallons, wide speed winds of 144 miles per hour, and flooding forcing road closures for months. Did you hear of that? How many of you guys heard about this? I mean, look at some of the footage here. That's pretty crazy. Let me pull up the article on this. Hold on. So it says here that a slow motion disaster that we're witnessing on the West Coast is unlike anything that we've ever seen before. A series of atmospheric rivers has already dumped trillions of gallons of water on the region, and trillions of gallons of additional water will fall before the end of the year. This has caused some rivers to rise to the highest levels that we've ever seen. Meanwhile, some areas of the Northwest have been repeatedly pummeled by extremely high winds. And that's true. As you will see below, some of the wind speeds that have been recorded are difficult to believe. That's what I said. How in the world are we seeing these winds? It says first, record flooding hits part of western Washington, and we've heard about that too. Some massive flooding going on in western Washington. How many of you guys heard about that? And it says, then, as flood-ravaged areas were recovering, a powerhouse windstorm blasted much of the Northwest and Rockies on Wednesday with winds clocking 144 miles per hour. 144? And over 160 reports of wind damage in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and California. I can't recall a windstorm of this magnitude ever hitting the Pacific Northwest in modern times. It's being reported that at least 9 different states experienced wind speeds of over 100 miles per hour. The highest winds slammed the Pacific Northwest and Rockies Wednesday. Yeah, we had heard that this wind was coming, I think on Monday, or was it Tuesday? We had an alert, and it never showed up. They said it was going to happen on, I think they said it was going to happen on Tuesday, and it never happened. We had winds on Monday, but then on Tuesday, nothing happened. And then it ended up happening on Wednesday, right? Or I'm sorry, yesterday, Thursday. But maybe it was Wednesday they said it was going to happen. But no, they said it was going to happen on Tuesday. Or maybe it was I know there was a day there that they said it was going to happen, and it didn't happen. And then the next day is when it happened. So that would have been Thursday, yeah. So it was Wednesday, I think they said it was going to happen. Anyway, it was weird because they told us it was coming and it didn't show up. So it kind of put everybody in a state of like, oh, it's not going to happen. But it ended up happening. And it was crazy wind. I thought the house was going to blow away. That's how hard the wind was coming. Trees were like literally, I never seen the trees sway the way they swayed. And because there's not a whole lot of frost, or the ground is still very soggy. It's been a very mild winter in terms of temperature. There's a lot more rain, and because of that, the ground was very soggy. And when you got wind and soggy ground, root systems don't hold very well. When you got frozen tundra, that's like cement. It kind of holds everything together. But because of this wind coming at a time when there's so much rain, we just saw everything fall apart. Trees downed everywhere. Canada is offering assisted suicide now because people can't afford to live. People that are sick and they don't have the ability to pay for, health care, they're offering them, you can always just commit suicide if you want. Just absolutely crazy. Let's see what else we have here. Everyone is being squeezed out of everything by design so that they don't have any choice but to comply to the digital ID and crypto financial system. You're going to be on voluntary UBI, but you're going to have to take a shot. You're going to have to take a biometric tracking system and submit to it. Are you going to do it? Let me ask you, are you going to do it? How many of you guys out there are willing to comply with a nanotech being inserted into your body and or biometric surveillance that you willingly give up and submit to as your nanny state data will be used to track everything that you say, do, and feel, even literally what you're feeling in your physical body, because they track everything, monitor heart rate, breathing rates. I mean, all this tech they have now is capable of doing that. How many of you will submit to that in order to eat, in order to survive? How many of you guys are going to comply? You're going to be felt. I'll just tell you this. If you're someone that took the vaccine, you're probably going to comply because you've already basically opened the door anyway. If you've taken the vaccine, you're probably going to end up complying. But I would say, how many of you out there that haven't or won't go that route? Type 1 in the chat if you're not going to go that route. And type 2 if you have to go that route because you got family members. You got family members that are going to be hungry. You got family members that are desperate need and they're on the brink of life and death. They need their Medicaid. They need their medicines. They need their, everything. We just have to give in to the beast system. You're going to type 2. You got to go along with the system. How many of you guys are going to comply? Type 2. So what do you do? The beast system is definitely here, isn't it? I mean, think about it. And a lot of people don't study the technology to know what's really happening. But just like COVID came upon the world suddenly, so this system that they have set up is going to come down like a trap upon everybody, and they're going to have to comply or die. At least they'll put it in that way. You're going to either help and facilitate a secure society and an orderly society and submit to this, or you're going to be one of those who are rebels and that are causing, like they said in COVID days, you want your grandma to die? You want people that are immune, what they call it? Their immune systems are compromised to die? You want to have that on your conscience? Then you better submit. Do you want to have a job? Do you want to still eat? Do you want to still provide for your family? Well, you better submit. You better go along with this. Otherwise, you're one of those rebels. And, you're probably a terrorist. Tell me that doesn't sound like the book of Revelation right there. Tell me that doesn't sound like the mark of the beast, or it says that you will not be able to buy or sell save you have this mark. I mean, let's read it. I'll read it to you. This is Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13. And it says, let's go and look and see what it says. Let's try a good version here that you all can understand here. Let's just read the chapter. Why not? We'll do a little devotional while we're here. What do you think? This is technological predictions from thousands of years ago that are lining up with our current news cycle and are relevant to all of us in some way. Here, our near future, our in fact, the future that is already here, because it's already happening. Everything that has been talked about in this passage is already being rolled out. And it's very clear. It wasn't understood until these times that we're in. And, the prophets predicted these things as they were moved upon by the Holy Spirit to write. And many times they did in allegory and or symbolisms that defined the technological visions that they were trying to put into words in their current time. They didn't really have words for the things that they were witnessing or that they were being given understanding about. They were trying to explain it, and in some way they did it through a little symbolism. But when you really sit and study it, you'll see through the symbolism and actually the reality of that technology of the time that they were looking at. So it goes on to say, then I saw a beast coming up out of the sea, 10 horns and 7 heads. And on his horns were 10 crowns, and on his heads were blasphemous names. And the beast that I saw was like a leopard, and his feet were like those of a bear, and his mouth was like the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his throne and great authority. I saw one of his heads as if it had been fatally wounded, and his fatal wound was healed. And the whole earth was amazed and followed after the beast. They worshiped the dragon because he had given his authority to the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like the beast, and who is able to make war with him? And the mouth and a mouth was given for him to speak arrogant words and blasphemies. The authority to act for 42 months was given to him. And he opened his mouth in blasphemies against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and those who dwell in heaven. It was also given to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And authority was given to him over every tribe, people, language, and nation. And all who live on the earth will worship him. Everyone whose name was not, or who has not been written since the foundation of the world, into the book of the Lamb, into the book of life of the Lamb who was slaughtered. This is the Lamb's book of life, right? And it says that before the foundation of the world, your name should be included in there because God is outside of time and space, right? He sees the end from the beginning. He knows what you're going to choose, and you have a will. God gives you free choice. You're not an automaton. You're not some kind of machine-driven, pre-programmed automaton. God has given you a free will, but he already knows what you're going to choose. Isn't that amazing? Like I said, God knows the end from the beginning. If anyone has an ear to hear, let him hear. And if anyone is destined for captivity, to captivity he will go. And if anyone kills with the sword he must be killed. Here is the perseverance and the faith of the saints, right? To trust, really, what is the perseverance and the patience of the saints to trust, to know that God has your future. He already knows how your end will be. And that's why you fear and tremble as you work out your salvation, right? You work out that salvation that God has placed within you with fear and trembling. But it goes on to say, then another beast coming up out of the earth, who had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spoke like a dragon. So he comes kind of like a peaceful man, but he also comes as a person who has a very fierce countenance. He comes speaking peace as if oil. His words are like butter, but in his heart are drawn swords. So he uses peace, and he comes as a lamb to make war like a dragon. He exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence. And he makes the earth and those who live on it to worship the first beast, whose fatal wound was healed. He performs great signs, so that even he makes fire come down out of the sky to the earth in the presence of the people. Now, this is kind of the unholy trinity. If you don't know about this, there's a depiction of a trinity of sorts of evil that in the last days is going to encompass a few different beasts, and the dragon, I think that could very well be the power, that Satan himself, the power to incarnate in a human vessel his authority and power upon the earth. Now there's 2 beasts. Some say this is the false prophet that brings down fire from heaven. He's the false prophet, that he's able to call fire down. And some have also likened him to, well, we'll get into this in a minute. And then it says in verse 14, and he deceives those who live on the earth because of the signs which it was given to him to perform in the presence of the beast, telling those who live on the earth to make an image to the beast, who had the wound of the sword and has come back to life, right? So this person is actually a promoter of the first beast, who had the wound healed. And if you go back to the original language, it's kind of a indicator that it might not just be a physical head wound, but it could also be a judicial and or legal wound that he's healed from. So, or a political head wound. And he's miraculously healed and resurrected from this. I would say it would be legal jeopardy, if you will. And that's what makes the whole world wonder. Like they're all, wow, that's amazing. How did he do that? Well, there's another beast that promotes him and is able to call fire down from heaven, right? Almost like a big ball of fire coming down and landing on a tarmac. No one else can do that. Who else in the world can actually make fire come down from heaven like that? And it looks like a big ball of fire. And many people are so amazed that this is capable, that we're capable of doing this, right? But he has these abilities, right? You know who we're talking about. And then it goes on to say, and it was given to this false prophet to breathe. It says that it was given to him to give breath to the image of the beast. So we're talking about an image now, right? What is an image? And I always say this because if you know about computers have an image. And this is many times when you have corrupt files, you go back to the original image, right? And you reboot, like when you have those little discs. Now, discs are becoming obsolete now, but your little DVDs or your CD-ROMs, those have an image on the disc. Your computer hard drive has an image, and you reboot to the original image, the uncorrupted file. If your files get corrupted, you go back to the original image, right? So this image, you could say, could be something that has connections to computers. But listen to what it says. This image, it says, And this false prophet who deceives, it says, and he deceives those who live on the earth because of the signs which it was given for him to perform in the presence of the beast, telling those who live on the earth to make this image to the beast who had the wound of the sword and was come back to life. And it was given to him to give breath to the image of the beast. So he has the power been given to him to cause, and he's the one that's promoting the first beast, right? But he's also the one that does the signs. He's kind of like, I don't know, maybe like a Tesla guy. Like he knows how to make rockets land on tarmacs. He knows how to put neurochips in people's brains so that they can wed themselves to the AI. He knows how to get this nanotech through your veins and arteries to make you a human node of the internet, where you have the ability to input output at high speeds so that we can all become a hive mind of singularity with what he calls the demon. He called it a demon, right? What was that? What did he call the demon? Oh, AI. Yeah, because it was going to ultimately 86 humanity. It was going to make humanity irrelevant and or extinct. And so in order to control the AI, we have to merge with it by getting it into our brain, right? A brain chip? No, neurolacing. Neurolacing. So that's the ability of this nanotech to be inserted through your veins and arteries so that it would go into your brain, beyond the blood-brain barrier, and coat and basically make an interface between your brain and the AI. And then you become the Internet of Bodies. So if you know what the Internet of Bodies is, go look it up, Internet of Bodies. It talks about how your body now becomes a node and or a connection to the Internet of Things. So you become a part of the Internet. And that AI is going to then begin to speak into your brain, where you become a part of the hive mind. So this person is able to give breath to the image. This image doesn't speak. It's just breathless. It's an image, right? An image is just an image. But at a certain moment, this image begins to speak, so that the image of the beast would then begin to speak. And then what happens? Now this image is sentient. Remember when Elon said, I don't know, it was probably like 8 months ago or so, that we have reached singularity. We have crossed over the event horizon. The event horizon is basically kind of a representation of a black hole that has a barrier around it so that you don't fall into it. It's called the event horizon. He says we've crossed the event horizon and are now entering into singularity. So basically, we've crossed over the barrier that sucks us into this black hole of singularity where humans and computers merge, right? So this is what Elon had said. Now, what happened is, now that AI is sentient, now that AI is all-powerful and almighty and all present or everywhere at once, right? It's called godlike power. Elon said that AI is a god, and it's right there out of Memphis. They're building the super hive kind of center of all the database centers that are all going to be AI driven with quantum computing right in the midst of Memphis. He said the gods of AI are right there. He called them a god. He said it's our new god, right? And so what does this god do? Well, it speaks, and it's able to know every human being, and it causes them by intimidation, by threats, by enticing them, maybe trying to give them, options of making life easy, UBIs, maybe ease of making content, ease of making finance, You just use the system, use the AI, let it help you, let it become one with you. Use it as a crutch. It'll help you to feed your family. So it causes all, either by coercion or by seduction, to become one with its mind, hive mind. Because all of humanity is doing it, don't you know? All of humanity must submit to this so that they can become one and that they can secure their future against these terrible currents of, evil people on the planet that are doing these terrible things to us. It will give you peace and security by submitting to this technology. So it causes all who do not worship the image of the beast to be killed. You're outside of civil society. Your social credit score has gone to the red. Your social credit score is of utmost importance because you're going to be either on the good list of Santa or on the bad list. And you know what happens to those who are on the bad list, don't you? Look at what's going on in China with people that don't have good social credit score because they're, everything that they do is being chronicled with the real ID. They get a demerits, too many, and they go into the red zone. Well, you go from green, yellow to red. And then what happens when you're red? You can't rent an apartment. You can't travel. You pretty much are just excluded from society. And they show videos on YouTube of people living on the streets because they have a bad social credit score. They didn't go along with what government wanted or whatever the system is being rolled out. The dragon is probably being rolled out right there in China anyway, but China does represent the dragon. But you got to know there's a power behind all of this technology, and it's not human. And so it goes on to say, and he causes all, small and great, rich and poor, bond and free, to be given a mark on their right hands and on their foreheads. So cerebral cortex, right hand. It talks about worshiping the image of the beast, the number of his name, or there's different ways to be submitted to the mark, okay? It's not just a tattoo. Some people are like, oh, it's got to be a tattoo. You got to be able to see it because it says it's an etching, it's a marking. Well, there's a lot of ways that you can be, wedded to the technology. So it says, this image that begins to speak becomes sentient, becomes all-knowing. It begins to cause compliance, right, by intimidation or seduction, to submit all over the earth, small and great, bond and free, rich and poor, to take this mark. They have to submit to this mark, either in their foreheads, that also could be facial recognition, or on your palm of your hand, or somehow. It does talk about the arm, so the right arm or the palm of your hand. If you look at the original, it could be your right arm. So could it be an injection? Could it be a chip under your skin? Could it be some kind of they've got these new tattoos that they are basically like QR code type tattoos that they put that are permanent on your skin. They got all kinds of new technologies they're using, but they've even got hand scans now that will basically connect to your bank account, and all you got to do is just wave your hand over a scanner, and it'll basically have your ID right on your hand, and it'll deduct it right out of your bank account, right? Just scan your hand. You want to get into a government building, just scan your hand over the side, or look into the little thing, the iris thing, and it takes a facial recognition picture, and it just basically chronicles your face and lets you in. Well, we know who you are. You don't even need see how convenient? Oh, it's so convenient. Like the church lady on SNL. How convenient. Could it be Satan? Yeah, because it's so convenient. Okay, so we got convenience. They're promoting this as convenient, right? This is very convenient. Well, you want to be a part of this, don't you? Or do you want to go the old way, the old school way that takes a lot of time? You remember what Trump just said on that video I just showed you a little bit ago? Remember what he said? What did he say? He said the old system, it just takes forever for, it to settle, to transfer money. We got to go the route of the new technology, like this is ancient technology. We got to go to the new technology, the crypto-based technology, so we can get things done quickly, right? We want it to be done fast. So it says, and he decrees that no one will be able to buy or sell except the one who has the mark, either the name of the beast or the number of his name. And then here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for this number is that of a man, and his number is 666. Now, 606 score and 6. If you look at the original language, it's 660 and 6, right? Now, if you calculate that out, I think it was something that we kind of looked into a while back, and some might say that this has something to do with the virgins, the 144,000 that the Bible speaks about, that they're virgins in the sense that they're not necessarily virgins in the sense that you and I might think of it, but their bodies have not been compromised by the mark of the beast. It doesn't necessarily mean 144,000 people. It could also mean symbolically, and we'll look at this in a minute here. If you know anything about the genes, remember we were telling you this technology of the VAX mRNA alters your genome. It edits, right? They're basically putting in gene editing software into the technology. And they can edit out diseases. They can edit out even the aging gene so that you don't age, supposedly. Cancer genes, all this stuff. They can customize an mRNA to get rid of acne for young people. I mean, it's endless, right? This is why Trump said he was the father of this, because he was the one who wanted to take all the credit for it. He was really upset at Biden about trying to take credit for the mRNA when he was in office. He made all these, mean tweets when Biden said something. Hey, I'm the one that did all this. This is my thing. That mRNA, that's me. That's me. Me. I'm the one that did it. Remember, he was all upset about that. But anyways, so what this does, getting back to the point, I didn't want to lose myself here on this, but the mRNA edits genes. Okay, so you know that DNA is a part of all that, right? So you got a double helix, right? You got the genes of your mother and the genes of your father, and they make up who you are, right? And it's a double twisted little thing that shows your genes, right? And there's ways to edit that with this technology. Okay, so the guy who found out about DNA, I think it was back in the 50s. There was two guys, and they speculated that there were 72,000 genes per helix on your let me get the calculator out if I got this remembered, if I can say this right. 72,000 plus 72,000 equals 144,000. Okay, so you have 144,000 total genes, supposedly, in your DNA, right? And so that would be that your DNA wasn't altered. It wasn't edited, right? So if you calculate, wisdom says to calculate the mark, right? 660 and 6 and 6, right? 6, if you look at the King James, it says 660 and 6. Okay, so each helix has 72,000. These men that found back in the 50s, discovered DNA, speculated in the original documents that there were 72,000 genes per helix. Now, there was all kinds of explanations after the fact, but originally they stated 72,000 per helix. Okay, so if you calculated that out, it would be 144,000, right? Well, think about this. So if you have 3 helixes, and you calculate 72,000 per helix, 72,000 times 3 equals 216,000 genes. Now, what is 600 times 60 times 6 equal? Anybody know? 600 times 60 times 6 equals, oh, wouldn't you know, 216,000. So maybe those who take the mark actually have had an extra helix added to their double helix. And maybe they were gene edited by some kind of nanotech. And if you don't remember the little ritual that the elites like to do, these rituals. You remember the Queen of England right before she died, she did this Tree of Life ceremony. How many of you guys remember that?
Thank you, Bourbon.
And this is it right here. So this was chronicled on. If you don't remember this, but look at what happened here. I'm just going to turn down the sound. But they did this ritual in England, where she comes out. The symbolism of medicine. You see the snake with the double helix around the pole. Okay, that's symbolic too. You're no longer human. You have been edited to become a part of the beast system. Right? Okay, so now you have 216,000 genes in your DNA instead of 144,000, which the Bible says would make you a virgin unto God. So how many people are going to submit to this? Anyone who is not found in the book of life, in the Lamb's book of life. But I'm not going to take it. Oh, yes, you will. You will take it. If you're not in the Lamb's book of life, you've already taken it by default. There is no free will outside of Christ anyway. The only one who gives you free will is truly God himself. Outside of God, you may think you have free will, but you don't. And you're submitting to the libertas idol, which says you have free will to sin, which really you're not free to sin. You're bound to sin. You're bound to that. What you think is freedom is really bondage, because you can't stop sinning. You can't stop the corruption of that fallen nature from destroying your relationship with God. You cannot stop it. The only way you can save yourself is if you cast yourself upon God's mercy and trust and put your faith in him. Only then can you be saved. Only then will he save you. You really can't even save yourself. Just understand that. Work out your salvation with fear and trembling, for it's God who is at work within you, both to will and to work of his good pleasure. Amen. How many of you guys know what I'm talking about? How many of you know your Bible? Anybody out there still hanging with me on this and understand what we're talking about? All right, Becky, good job. All of you out there that are listening. Now, I want to get back into our morning devotionals. I've kind of had a little bit of a break, if you will. I really am prayerfully wanting to get deeper into the scriptures with you guys and prayer, and really, really searching out and seeking the Lord on a deep level with you guys, because God has a lot to say to us. He's spoken to us many times in very specific ways, And I love the way that the Spirit shows up in our gatherings. But BP Ministries, if you want to be a part of that, you're a believer and you're listening to me, go over to BP Ministries channel and subscribe over there. But get ready, because God has a lot of separating he's doing of the wheat and the chaff, and he's refining those who are already the wheat with fire. And I pray that you're submitting to his will and you're letting the fire of God purge you and purify you and perfect you and prepare you for his soon return. He's getting very close to getting here, and I think it's about to happen. So don't let the things of this world distract you. Do not be carried away by every wind of doctrine, because there's all kinds of false spirits that are moving right now amongst the body of Christ. The body of Christ. And they're masquerading as angels of light, and they're deceiving many. And we don't want to be deceived by any lying signs and wonders. Do you? You want to know the real signs and wonders? You want to see the real God of heaven moving and performing his will and purpose on the earth? You want to be a part of that? Because that's in preparation for your entrance into the heavens. He's going to usher you in if you follow him wholeheartedly without deception. Amen. Woman of Wonder says, please pray for my mom. Her stage 4 cancer has become treatment resistant. Okay. All right, let's say a prayer for a woman of wonder. And by the way, if you need prayers and you need fellowship and you want to become a part of a group of true believers, you come on over to our BP Ministries channel, and we do you just subscribe over there and follow us on either Telegram or Patreon. I always post links whenever we go live. If you do the buy coffee, or one of the followers or supporters, you'll also get an email link or whatever. If it's real-time alerts, we also will alert people through text messages. Right now, we still got a small group of people that we can alert, so it doesn't cost too much. But we'll alert you through text message if you're a part of our soon coming app. The way you get connected to the soon coming app is you go register. Make sure you register. If you haven't already registered, let's see if I can find it right here. Make sure you register with us. Okay, here we go. All right, here's the link for that. I put it in the chat room. Get registered, and you'll get a text. Make sure it's a cell phone or whatever, because it only goes to cell phones. And then we'll alert people when we go live over on the Ministries channel, as well as whenever we do a major news broadcast. So get connected to that. The app should be out in a couple of weeks. Hopefully and I do believe that the Lord's going to supply all of our needs to make that happen. And if not, maybe this is completely the last moments of I keep telling people, if it don't come in, that means it's over. All right. If we don't get this thing up and running, then that's it. It's over anyway. So I think we're so close to seeing war break out. I mean, it's not even funny. It's not, like I said, I'll be surprised if it goes another week without seeing some major conflict unfolding in the world. I'll be very surprised. And you could just say, Robert, you were wrong again. And I'll say, okay, well, maybe it's this next week. And then if it happens 3 weeks from now, it doesn't matter. You had 3 weeks to prepare. If it happens 2 months from now, it doesn't matter. You still had 2 months to prepare. That's God's mercy, allowing you to get yourself ready. Because when it does happen, it's going to be dominoes, and it's going to be all over the face of the earth. And it's only going to get much worse with all the AI weapons and everything else they got. I hope you understand. So, that's true. Gina Mac, that's a good suggestion. I think what Gina Mac said is good. Let's pray for your mom. Prayer is also very powerful. And let's say a prayer on our way out for Woman of Wonder. Thank you, Jesus, for what Woman of Wonder's mother, God, and everything that you're doing in their family right now. I pray that you see these prayer requests that have been lifted up for her health and well-being as a testimony for this reason, that you bring her to a place of stability and or longevity in this world is to testify to your glory as a sign and a wonder to those who are watching that you have truly extended her life for this time and for this season, for her to proclaim the true gospel of Jesus Christ, that you are the healer, that you are the one that fills our hearts with true songs of deliverance for the time and both time and eternity, for both time and eternity. And may she have that complete and utter peace that passes all understanding now, both woman of wonder and her mother, in Jesus' mighty name, that they will know that you have touched them this night, and that they will proclaim that testimony to the ends of the earth as a testimony against this world in Jesus' name. We thank you, Lord, for what you're doing, and we glorify your name once again. Go with us this night as we all go our separate ways, and bless everybody that's listening in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you, brothers and sisters, and all you who are still on the fence. Get your life right with God. Truly repent. Give your life over to him and put away your sin and let God fill you with his Holy Spirit, baptize you in his Spirit, and get baptized and share your testimony with everybody and become a part of the fellowship of the saints. Reject this world. Let them do whatever they will. You go the way of the cross. Amen. God bless you. In Jesus' mighty name. Amen.